So, we're back with Blood again. Yeah, I wasn't just leaving it at episode 1. Episode 1 is great and all, has the most iconic levels, and arguably the best pacing, but it lacks some things the later episodes slowly perfect over the course of their levels. I just want to say this, episode 1 is the hardest overall episode. Some individual levels of the later episodes are harder, but as a complete package, none of them trump episode 1. The cultists they're just fucking evil, and none of the other enemies are nearly as much of a threat as a shotgun or Tommy gun cultist. That doesn't mean that these episodes are worse than the first, however. In fact, I think they're better, honestly. They're more balanced, a lot more variety, some fascinating level design, and some of the most well-designed encounters ever created in any shooter ever. Seriously, Blood might be the tightest and most well-polished game ever made in terms of purely the combat and the encounters. I don't know how they did it. So, episode 2. Even Death May Die. The episode names are so edgy, I love it. Lots of snow, lots of ice, lots of hedge mazes. Starts out with an anachronistic Jaws reference and then an absolute dicking down from some cultists. See, you've not got most of your weapons yet, and barely any explosives really. So, getting on board the ship trapped in the ice is going to be an absolute nightmare no matter how you approach it. Blood doesn't do easy opening levels after episode 1. It assumes that you know what the fuck you're doing if you're playing a later episode.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
I like it. We're playing on Well Done this time, by the way. I'd grown too numb to lightly broiled and couldn't stand how easily I was able to dunk on cultists. I needed a reality check, and Blood on Well Done will absolutely flatten any, and I mean any, ego you might have about being good at video games. That shit will make you more humble than Diogenes. This shit will have you skinning a chicken and walking into the amphitheater, okay? You're gonna near immediately get introduced to one of the new enemies. None of these new enemies are a threat to you, by the way. The cultists remain the deadliest common enemy that you'll encounter, and frankly, there's only one boss that's deadlier than the cultists as well. We'll get to that next video. Anyways, meet the Gill Beast, relatively fast underwater, a shambling sack of soon-to-be lead-filled flesh on land. The shotgun kills them quick, and they can only melee, so not really a threat, even in the water. Unless the game does something it likes to do a lot. Too many Gill Beasts. I'm not elaborating. If you know, you know. Now, back to that ship. First and foremost, standing near the edge, but not on the ship, gives a brief hint of the fuckery going on with how the build engine manages room over room. There are later levels that show it better, but this is the first one that I can remember where you can see that specific seam and like the way this is constructed. Secondly, getting on it. I personally prefer to tackle it head on because I hate myself, though I usually lure off one of the gargoyles first so I can pitchfork it to death. Surprisingly easy to do, by the way. They're loud, but not really a threat to you. The lack of ammo and limited weapons really makes this level a challenge. Arguably one of the hardest in the game, especially if you take breaks between episodes like I do. It took me several attempts and some save scumming to finally clear the top deck and get the key from the cultists near the steering wheel. Those gargoyles have way too much health. So now you're descending into the bowels of the ship to find the key for the steering wheel. Not the key by the steering wheel, but the key for the steering wheel. The steering wheel has a key for it, because that makes sense. How do you even put a lock on an old ship steering wheel? Anyways, you get the makeshift flamethrower here. Great weapon. Would have been better if introduced an episode or two later, since it trivializes 2 of the 3 new enemies, but we'll get to that later. You see, one of those trivialized enemies, the spiders, right away where you find the flamethrower. Flamethrower is good for them, but the Tommy gun's better. They both trivialize the spiders. Honestly, anything does. They're not really a threat, though if they do bite you, they'll cause weird visual effects that can make you a sitting duck for other enemies, so I suppose be careful around them if there are cultists nearby. Advice for the flooded rooms. Go in, aggro enemies, leave. They'll come up after you, the fish will die, the guild beasts, they'll be rendered useless. Repeat until cleared. Also, judiciously use dynamite on that cargo room full of cultists. Preferably from the hole in the top deck that shows that same seam in the build engine's fuckery that I was talking about earlier. So the steering wheel somehow causes the ice nearby to fucking explode, and you head through that into an underwater section that leads to the exit. The creaking of the ice that you can hear in the tunnel is such a good detail, by the way. Never really understood the Gillbeast placement though. You just lure them in and hop out, and they can't even start to follow you out. It's weird. The Lumber Mill. This is the first proper Episode 2 map of Episode 2. The first one was a real ballbuster, sort of like Episode 1's levels, and none of these levels in Episode 2 ever approached that kind of difficulty again. I know I've talked about it before, but the continuity between levels, it's just phenomenal. It starts going down over time. It's less and less there as the game goes on through the episodes, but in Episode 2, it's still very much there. The way that the end of the last level literally lets you see the start of this one down to even having the same placed pickups at the start, that's so fucking cool. So you immediately get to meet the other new enemy that is trivialized by the spray can, the Bloated Butcher. The guy's weak to flames, moves slow, and only has slow-moving projectile attacks. Even a shotgun cultist is way, way more dangerous. Still good for flavor. I take a shortcut ahead of the level's intended progression by hopping in this window and absolutely dunking on some poor cultist. So after some dicking around, I head back down and do it properly. The Sawblade room is a really good encounter. I love how the placements of enemies and civilians implies that the cultists are taking hostages to stop Caleb, as if he fucking cares. Civilians are basically just a Capri Sun that he has to open with a pitchfork. Also, bonus points to Caleb quoting Han Solo after opening outhouse. Makes 0 sense, but it just fits somehow. Also, I'm recording this like a good 3 months after the previous paragraph, and I had changed my recording loudness settings, and I don't remember what they originally were, so if the audio is slightly louder or quieter from this point on in the video, that's why. Also, woohoo, I have air conditioning now. Expect more videos much more quickly.
Ooh, what a wonderful smell I've discovered.
So, you hop down into that toilet, because of course you do, and then use a really hard to see switch to raise the level of the shit water to hop out and get the fire key. What was the point of that? Shit sucks, literally. I'm just letting this play out unedited so y'all can see how just pointless it is. fire key leads you to this torture room where you're forced to literally kill a guy in some bizarre civilian muncher machine. Don't know why they have that. I mean, I guess they're an evil cult. I guess I get why they have that. Before then swimming through gore to get the next key. The gore loops back around to the level's beginning, too. Why do they have a gore river? Like, again, I get they're evil, but that just, like, I don't see the practical purpose. Is it like a little love tunnel? Like, they have it, like, at a carnival, but, like, you know, for evil cultists? Are the cultists having sweaty gay sex in the gore tunnel? Someday when I have monetization, that comment's gonna bite me in the ass, isn't it? Anyhoozle. Rest for the Wicked is the first of the hedge maze levels. These are the levels that Episode 2 are known for, and where the tone that Episode 2 goes for is on full display. I like them. Tight corners, devilish ambushes, and a really good understanding of when and where to include verticality to break up the monotony. The fight near the first key is just great. Really uses the verticality to fully fuck you over. The spot where you first get the remote detonated bombs, totally from 1928 right there, is also just a masterclass in fucking over the player without being cheap. Seriously, people always talk about Cujo, the Cujo quote in Episode 3, but like, this man has remote detonated bombs in 1928, and they don't look like magic ones. That's technology. Anyways, I tried to sequence break, but it went all wrong, and I forgot to quick save, so I had to do the whole section over again. The arena where you get to go around murking cultists while cloaked, that's amazing. Fucking love it. Bathroom shootout fucks hard too. The Overlooked Hotel, yes, it's a Stephen King reference. No, sadly, it's not a complete recreation of the Overlook Hotel, is a great level. Got some clearly Quake-inspired music going on. I've never understood why people don't make this comparison to this specific track more often. This is some Quake shit. The opening section is outright brutal in the placement. Dealing with gargoyles and tight hedge mazes is really not a fun time at all. The bit with the explosion outside the manor is a bit cheap, but it isn't bad enough to irk me. The first room is phenomenal. Again, episode 2 is just full of masterfully used verticality. I struggled to read that for a second. The enemies pick positions to hold angles that actually make sense, and it makes them an absolute bitch to deal with. The rest of this level is clearing rooms in this hotel manor place. Not sure which it is, or if it is both. Tons of both secret and non-secret opportunities to take enemies on from different angles and routes, and the layout is designed to both feel frenetic while giving you the distance needed to safely use explosives. Good shit. The Butcher Bar is where you get to see the spray cans alt fire in action. Just watch, you'll see. Now, I could take the normal exit, or I could take the secret exit. Which do you think I'm gonna do? So you gotta find these tomes around the place. Yeah, tomes, like books, but old and magic. So after the fire key, by the way, I sequence broke using secrets to get to the regular exit early, by the way. You get teleported to this bizarre area. I think I said, by the way, twice. Ignore that. You get to this bizarre area. This is the secret exit. Well, that's what happened to me, anyways. You're supposed to have to fight Chiog again and have all of the tomes, but that teleporter worked early for me. I only had one tome. I'm confused. I don't know if this is a build GDX video, issue, or if it's something that all builds of Blood have a problem with. No clue why it worked without the tomes. But I ain't questioning it. You know what? Fuck it. We ball. Thin Ice, the secret level of episode 2. I've never played this level before this playthrough, to be honest, because I usually encounter bugs preventing me from reaching it rather than letting me get in without the tomes. I've had like 3 or 4 playthroughs now end like that. Not end, but by the end I hadn't seen this level yet, because when I got to the previous level, shit just wouldn't work. I get all the tomes, the thing wouldn't work. I don't know if it's a build GDX problem or what. Look around at the beginning for some free ammo. You'll need it, trust me. See, this game has a really bitch move it sometimes pulls. You know how the cultists require you to be quick and to constantly crouch to avoid incoming fire? Yeah, well, when you're underwater, you can't do any of that. You're slow as fuck and can't crouch. Anyways, this level begins by making you fight several cultists underwater, because of course it does. And the cultists can change elevation in the water way faster than you, by the way, and are just as accurate as when they're not underwater. Fucking bullshit, man. Fucking bullshit. So, after that absolute ass-fucking of an ambush, you blow up some ice and move into the next part of the level. There's this annoying section with some little fish you can ignore, but as soon as you hop out, you'll be ambushed by a gargoyle and some butchers. Be careful going up the ice. There's a fucking firing squad waiting for you at the top. This next section gave me some real trouble for some reason. You go down in the water again and re-emerge at this tunnel, right? And outside are some cultists and gargoyles. Shouldn't be any problem. But I kept eating shit right here for some reason. Might be the constant sleep deprivation taking a toll on me. I don't know. I was recording this back when I was dealing with no air conditioning in the middle of fucking Appalachian summer, so I was barely sleeping. It definitely could have been the sleep deprivation. I don't know. The round room after this is a perfect candidate for using the napalm launcher's alt fire, though. Oh yeah, this level finally gives you that. And since you've been getting ammo for it since the beginning of the episode, you've got a ludicrous amount of napalm launcher ammo to spare. You could basically main the napalm launcher from this point forward if you really want to. Go up the elevator, fail at trying to dynamite those zombies, and then get ready for some janky build engine massive level destruction. Seriously though, it's pretty cool actually. It's not that janky. Well, it is, but it's still cool. This next part, it isn't though. The game forces me to make these jumps, right? And one is, it's just too far down. You have to take fall damage there. It gives you the jump boots right before, but if you don't know that those get rid of fall damage, then you might be stuck here for a while like I was. So, you get past that, and now get to fight Chiog again. Finally! I was wondering when I'd see you again. My old friend! Shame there aren't two of you at a time. My excitement is definitely not feigned at all, and definitely not foreshadowing for later in this episode, because Well Done decides to just eat all your fucking ammo. With recurring mini-bosses. Usually in pairs. After that is the exit, thankfully, though. If you play it smart, you'll be leaving this level with enough napalm to lose a war to rice farmers. The Haunting, a fun level, but this is also where episode 2 starts to lose steam a little bit. It blends together with the other hedge maze maps. None of them are bad. This episode just lacks the iconic set pieces of the first episode, and it becomes super obvious when played back to back with each other. The hedge maze in this one is an actual maze this time, though, with tons of zombie and butcher ambushes. It exits into a house that you've been teased with various angles of. Well, house is an understatement, to be honest. This is a full-on mansion that you've been teased with various angles of for the first half of the level in the maze part. When you step inside, the game plays some menacing whispers that really creep me out if I play this level at night. That's the one thing that episode 2 excels at above all the others, the atmosphere. It genuinely gets creepy sometimes, despite the enemies not being nearly as deadly as in other episodes. The manor in this level has a really intricate layout, really well planned. It doubles back on itself and has a really, really good flow. The lack of danger does make all the power-ups that you can find feel a bit overkill, though. It's like, come on, it's already like drop-kicking a baby. Do you have to turn it into drop-kicking a baby into a field goal with a rocket-powered boot? The freezer is glitchy as hell. 2 fire keys, one dropped by the butcher and the other placed. Not sure if that's a build GDX problem or just blood. Also, the door's fucked. Nothing else to add. The door's just fucked. The repeated outdoor sections for the keys feels a bit too repetitive. The section downstairs through the eye-key door is great, though. Especially the tunnel trap with all the zombies and butchers. That shit actually had me worried for a minute, for the first time since, the end of episode 1. The end section completely switches aesthetics, and also gives you a section where it basically is impossible to not take drowning damage. Which sucks. The Cold Rush is another episode 2 level. That's the nicest thing that I can say about it. It isn't terrible, but it isn't great or memorable either. Lots of annoying sections, easy to get lost in. The opening is strangely really hard. The cultists are placed in a spot where you can't really get to them easily. Now, you can sequence break your way to the exit with the jump boots pretty easily. You don't even have to find a key, but that ain't what I'm here to do. I wish I was, though. That's what I do on my normal playthroughs. Instead, I'm heading off for the keys. You go the opposite way of the main building across the river. There's lots of platforming in this level. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be blunt. Some really useful secrets, though, with tons of ammo. That's why I didn't skip straight into the next level. Once you're inside the house, the difficulty, it drops. Traps with the Evil Dead hands. I've not talked about those, have I? They're self-explanatory. They're the hands from Evil Dead. Voice lines and everything. Anyways, traps with those and butchers. That's what you got in there. Way less threatening than the cultists sniping you outside while you jump around, which is fun and wonderful. Platforming while being shot at's just lovely. Just real fucking lovely. The house is short. You hit 2 buttons, one inside and one outside, and the exit's open. You're now in Bowels of the Earth, a classic Blood level. The bit at the beginning with the earthquake is really, really ambitious for the time, so is the bit where the whole tunnel caves in. If you're playing Blood right, you'll be hopping around like a man consumed by madness while chucking dynamite at clusters of zombies, barely escaping the splash damage yourself. You then get a Temple of Doom-esque minecart ride where you get absolutely gaggle-fucked by a ton of Tommy gun cultists that get to snipe you from a distance. At the end, you're ambushed by gargoyles after the damned wall comes down. You jump across, get swarmed by spiders, and then get a dynamite practice room. Sorry, I mean a room full of zombies. Then comes the cultist room. If you've played Blood, you know the room in this level that I'm talking about. A hacked together beast of a room that shows off exactly how janky the build engine's room over room really is. After that, the game gives you some jump boots and requires you to make some jumps. I already had some, but if you didn't already have any, there's some in this level. From there, you've got a fairly straight path to the exit. There's another cave-in, which is sort of cool. Getting a bit stale when that is the, I cannot stress enough, third one in a single level. The level and the episode as a whole really starts to lose steam at this point in this level. It started out strong, but it couldn't keep it up. It couldn't salvage the downward spiral caused by the last level's mediocrity. You get a swimming section. This level really feels like it should be over already, and now you're in this massive room getting gaggle-fucked by gargoyles and cultists. I use the word gaggle-fucked a lot in describing encounters in Blood. That's what a lot of them feel like. It's just, 1 minute everything's fine, and the next, they're throwing not just everything at the wall, but they have picked up the wall they threw everything at, and chuck that at you instead. After some more bullshit, you finally reach the exit. Well, you reach the exit section, you gotta fight Chiog again before you can exit. Because of course you do. Can't have you having too much ammo going into the boss level. Once you're done with that, you can notice that the exit button isn't centered on the pillar and forever be tormented by that information. Fuck you. The final level of episode 2, the Lair of Sheol. Final boss is a giant spider. Well, on any other difficulty it is anyways. I have to correct myself because on Well Done, the final boss is 2 of them. You only have to kill 1 though. I don't know why they even bothered doubling it up if you've only got to kill 1. Maybe they just forgot to change the script in the code for it. I don't know. Easy enough. At least this one can actually hurt me, unlike Chiog, who, you know, again, we've established crouch. He does nothing. He's just an ammo sink. Caleb's lines in this level, are all great, and the cutscene after you've killed Sheol is metal as fuck. I'm just gonna let that play in its entirety, I think.
Hey, she-bitch, let's go. the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you.
That's it for episode 2. Overall, it's a pretty good episode, honestly. The levels aren't as iconic or well designed, but it is where the combat first starts to become the absolute perfection that comes later in episode 4. We'll be tackling 3 and 4 together in a double feature episode, because 3 is too short to warrant a video by itself. Or at least that's what I thought when I first started this series. But being in the middle of writing the script for episode 3, as in episode 3 of the series rather than episode 3 of Blood, it was long enough. The double feature is going to be really fucking long. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time.